Now the other way of thinking about the modes, which is the real way of thinking about the modes, is in terms of soloing, you are playing in a key using the 7 notes from that key, but the chord you are playing over could be any one of the 7 chords that are in that key. So all you're doing is you're thinking about the root note of that chord. So if you're playing over a G chord and you're playing the G major scale, that is the Ionian mode. In the same key, you're still in the key of G, but if the chord is A minor, that's chord number 2. You're still playing the G major scale, but the root note of what you're currently doing is A. That's the Dorian mode. So what you need to do is think about A as the root note, think about the notes that are in an A minor, A, C and E, sustain those notes much more than you would sustain the others, perhaps use the others as passing notes, and work around A minor but using Dorian mode. Now how does Dorian mode differ from a standard A minor scale? Only by one note. An A minor scale would have an F in it, whereas Dorian can be thought of as a minor scale with a sharp 6th, so it has F sharp instead of F. So that's one way of explaining how the modes work. You can either use them as a fretboard road map to play in the same key, same scale, all the way up and down the fretboard, or the other way of thinking about it is as 7 separate scales that give you 7 different, well, flavours you could say, or colours some people like to refer to them as, even though they are neither, but you've got to translate it into English somehow, haven't you? So you just to go slightly further with that explanation, there are 3 major modes: Ionian, Lydian and Mixolydian, and there are 3 minor modes: Aeolian, Dorian and Phrygian, and Locrian is minor as well, but also with a flattened 5th, and it's not used very often. So you can think of the mode as being the relationship between the chord that is being played, let's say by the rhythm guitar, and the scale that is being played by the lead guitar. So B Phrygian, for example, is in the key of G. It's the 3rd mode of the G major scale, and the 3rd chord in the key of G is B minor. So the rhythm guitar is playing a B minor chord, and the lead guitar is playing over the top using perhaps sometimes just B minor pentatonic, because all of the notes from the B minor pentatonic scale are in the key of G and are in B Phrygian. So they all fit perfectly well with the B minor chord. But then on top of that, you might want to flavour things with, let's see, there's a minor 6th in Phrygian. And there's also a flat 9. So 2 of the notes are really quite fruity, a bit exotic, but the other 5 notes are all just notes from the B minor pentatonic scale. So you've got the 1st, the minor 3rd, the perfect 4th, the perfect 5th, and the minor 7th. That's the B minor pentatonic. But then 2 extra notes to add to that. In B Phrygian, you've got your flat 9, and you've got your minor 6th. And it's quite nice to sort of play with those by going from a note that's in the pentatonic to one of the fruitier notes, just to be slightly risky, and then back to a really sort of safe note. You can, play around with that and have lots of fun with that. But the idea is you're playing over the third chord in a key. In this case, G, and the chord is B minor. But you're still playing what is the G major scale, but starting from B. And the G major scale, starting from B, is Phrygian mode. Any scale, any major scale, starting from note 3 is Phrygian mode. Not surprisingly, you can turn this on its head slightly and start thinking about it the other way. Thinking, well, if I'm just playing over a B minor chord and that's it, there's going to be nothing else in the backing, just the 3 notes of B minor. Well, do I have to use Phrygian even though I've been in the key of G? What about if I were to use one of the other minor modes? So if I use Dorian, it then starts to imply that I'm actually in the key of A, even though I'm not. Or if I use Aeolian, then it sounds like I'm in the key of B minor or D, even though you're not. So, but as a soloist, you can, as long as you're not playing anything that clashes, you can chuck these other modal flavours in, and it sort of implies that you're in a different key than the key you're actually in. But that's just one of the way of sort of mixing things up and bringing some interesting colours and shapes and flavours and smells to the whole thing.